Hello and welcome to Eye on South Asia. I'm Bhavna Vanan.
And I'm Sanjeev Pandya.
Every week we'll bring to you the latest news, events, and happenings with South Asians living in North America. Sanjeev, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
We are going to start with our top lead stories for this week. So
Right.
we have something from the UN
Right.
regarding the biggest leaders in terms of urban growth. So would
That's
you like
right.
to tell us about that?
Yeah, that's all we need to know. India, China, US, Nigeria, and Indonesia. They are going to be, adding a huge population in the urban area in the next 4 decades. That's the survey released by UN. And if you really talk about it, it's like U.S. cities are forecast to add 103 million people, raising the country's total population by a third, while China is due to boost its population by a quarter, and they will add 341 million in its cities. Now, this urban population, it's going to be, I think, sparking challenges in providing jobs, housing, energy, and infrastructure.
Right. Yeah, as you were saying, just the fact that a lot of the population are moving to the cities. So there's so much growth in that area.
Right.
And it has its own challenges, globalization, economic development. And this is what we were actually discussing on the show last time, where there's a UN Sustainability Summit that's going to be happening in Rio de Janeiro.
Right.
And they call it Rio Plus 20.
Exactly.
And they talk about these sorts of issues in terms of, okay, so all of these cities around the world are the leaders in terms of population growth as well as economic development and how to deal with those challenges going forward.
Exactly. But what I find it very surprising, Bhavna, in this, India, US, China are expected. Indonesia, somewhat expected. But the most surprising factor here is Nigeria, because Nigeria's cities are expected to add 200 million people by 2050.
Right, and that's more than doubling the current population of the country.
Correct.
And it's really looking at which countries are growing, and that's where Nigeria comes in, because it is a little bit of a surprise.
Well, in that list, it's always India and China and the US, and I'm quite, surprised to see Nigeria in there. India's cities are to add 497 million, increasing the current total population by more than 40%.
Right.
So that's going to be interesting in the next 4 decades.
Yeah, we'll see how they deal with all of these challenges.
Absolutely, yes.
So let's move on to our next story. We have some new appointments from the Obama administration.
Yeah, what happens is President of the United States of America nominates a person for the National Council in the Arts. And this time, Obama has nominated Deepa Gupta of Illinois, and she was confirmed by the Senate just a couple of weeks ago. This is a 4-year term. And I think it's the first time that Indian has been nominated and confirmed. Furthermore, there is another Indian American, Anuj Changdesai of Wisconsin, who was nominated to the Foreign Claims Settlement Commission and was also confirmed.
Yeah.
There are 2 more Indians in the list, and they will be confirmed, I think, when Senate returns on April 16th after the holidays. And those nominations are, there is Ajit Varadraj Pai of Kansas for the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, and Aruna Majumdar of California for the Undersecretary of Energy.
Great.
So that is good to see Indians being nominated and approved and going into different departments, different government departments.
Definitely. That is a pattern that we've been seeing in the Obama administration.
That's
is
right.
that there's so many Indian Americans that have become part of this political sphere now.
But I think many of them, Bhavna, they get nominated, but after a year or 2, they leave. Many of them have left in the past also.
This is true. Yeah.
I guess they just want to get the credit. They want to just have that included in their resume, and they say goodbye. But
sometimes it is a little bit of a nominal thing.
Right.
Maybe even just like this title, because it's like first American to hold this title.
That's right.
And that's just kind of a record that they set for themselves,
Exactly.
which allows them to shoot off into other ventures.
Exactly.
So,
But anyway, I mean, I'm happy to see FCC in there, Indian being nominated for FCC, and the Department of Energy. So that's good.
yeah. Well, speaking of a big Indian American name in politics,
exactly.
we have Nikki Haley.
Right.
And she has been like the talk of the nation over the last week. She's appeared in USA Today, the cover of USA Today, New York Times, and several other major media outlets. And
newspapers, radio stations, TV
Yes.
stations, that's where she was.
And she's really promoting her book,
Right.
and it's called "Can't Is Not an Option."
Correct.
And it released on April 3rd, and
Right.
it's just a memoir of her life, and she goes through her journey as she grew up and how she
Indian American
exactly
combination.
the
Right.
challenges she had to face,
Right.
things like racial discrimination, having strict parents as an Indian, the close-knit families, also converting to Christianity. She's originally from a Sikh background,
Right.
and she married Michael and converted to Christianity, and she saw her
Right.
path go from there. And she was also on The View recently, and she had said something that was a little. Had you seen that episode?
No, I didn't see that episode.
Well, she was talking to one of the hosts, and she said actually that women don't care about contraception; they care about jobs, the economy, and raising their families.
Oh God.
So that raised a little
The host must have
bit.
been upset. Yeah, the host must have been upset after hearing that.
Yes. Well, on that show, we have several different
Right.
viewpoints.
Very known,
like
very
yeah.
known personalities.
Right. There's more of a conservative side and a liberal, but it didn't go over so well in some circles. But she managed to turn it around and say, the media likes to talk about certain things only, and we want to steer it back to the real issues, and just riling with her fellow conservatives, she managed to say, in the end, what is amazing is what a bully President Obama has become. So that's how she kind of ended that. But getting back to her book, she is talking about being the first woman governor of the
Right.
southern state and the
Right.
first Indian American woman. Also the country's youngest governor at 40 years old.
Right.
So she's still very much a novice. It's her first term, and she's going on the heels of Bobby Jindal, who's done a lot for his state.
For Louisiana.
Right. And so it's really just like America's getting to know her as a governor and really just warming up to her story.
Well, I'm not sure, Bhavna. Here's the thing. Nikki Haley, as during primaries, she had given her support to Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney lost to South Carolina because that was won by Newt Gingrich, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Right. So that was I think, setback for her. Then her name appeared as possibly Romney's VP candidate. Appeared for a while, then just it just went out because Newt Gingrich took the state.
Right.
Now she's coming out with this book. We don't know whether she's going to have a successful term and whether she will be re-elected. She's working hard. She has done some good things for South Carolina, but I think more to be done. So I think she finds a way just to stay in the spotlight. And I think if this book helps her to stay in the spotlight, but eventually it's what re-election counts. And if she gets re-elected, then it would be good.
Right. I think a book is always a good idea to start your
It
journey into the limelight.
It gives you a lot of publicity.
Right. Exactly. So we'll see what happens with that whole thing. And she had been questioned many times. Are you going to be considered as a VP candidate? But
Right.
she kind of dismissed those claims. So.
They all dismiss it anyway.
Right. Yeah, they do.
They
And
all
then
dismiss
just
it.
pop up from
It
nowhere.
just pops up and say it just happened overnight.
Right. Right.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So we have another story here, moving on to a new plaintiff in the case of L&T Infotech has joined this class action lawsuit.
Okay.
And Basically, it's a gender discrimination lawsuit against the company. This is Larsen and Toubro,
Right.
and it's a multinational giant based in India.
Right.
And the main plaintiff is Ms. Deepa Shanbag, and she wants to amend the original complaint, and now she's seeking no less than $100 million in damages.
I see the amount, $100 million, right.
So, yeah, this is discrimination on the basis of gender against women, and on that basis tied with pregnancy as well.
Exactly.
So there's another lady that's been added to this list. Her name is Miss Nanda Pai, and she was another employee at L&T, and she was in the Human Resources Department. And she described what was a very hostile culture towards her as a woman, as well as when she discovered, that they were allegedly indulging in immigration fraud.
Okay.
She said that, when she was working out the case, that L&T had orchestrated a mass cover-up for this. And things like, when she's looking through the files,
come out, right.
She sees like forged signatures and stuff like that. So she believed that she was kind of framed and made a scapegoat because she was a woman and because she was pregnant. So now there are a lot of damages that they're seeking, money for.
And all these things are included in the complaint.
Yes.
And I believe Ms. Nandita had filed a complaint in 2008. And now this another person comes forward now.
Right.
So that's going to be interesting to see that what court finally gives their judgment.
Definitely. Yeah, there are more and more people coming forward in this case, so we'll definitely see how that pans out.
Right.
But we're going to have to take a short break for now, and we'll be right back on Eye on South Asia. Stay tuned.